Welcome, welcome, welcome. Special edition of Richard Listens here to you live from UBN Gower. And today is an exciting time for me. They're all exciting days, folks. I try to make them exciting, but today is especially exciting because part of what we aim to do here is to bring the people that I get to interact with and meet along my way and feature what they've been doing and share their journey. So I'm really happy today. I ran across my dear friend Adam Greenfield a few months ago. We had a conference and he shared his journey, which I thought really mirrored kind of where I've been the last 3 years of change of pace, going in a whole different direction and finding your why, like Simon Sinek says. So without further ado, my guest today of The Go Life is Mr. Adam Greenfield.
Love that. Nice little studio audience there.
You like that? You like that?
Love it. I'm sorry I can't be there. We have about 3,000 miles between us. Our company is based here in Manhattan. So welcome to my office.
Yes.
And,
is it really a WeWork or is it where is it? Is it a manufacturing site? I saw that you do all the Go Life supplements produced in New York.
Yeah. This is not. This is a WeWork. Keeping it lean, running a very lean startup. This is WeWork in Midtown Manhattan. But yeah, in terms of the company itself, we keep everything really, really close, especially at these early stages. So manufacturing is done in Long Island, packaging is done in Long Island.
Best things come from Long Island.
Long Island.
That's where I'm from. You know that, right?
Like, listen, you might have been in LA for a long time, but that New York accent hasn't gone too far.
Thank you. It comes out when I speak to other New Yorkers.
Yeah.
So tell us, if you wouldn't mind, I want to hear about everything you're doing with nutrition and supplementation and self-experimentation, biohacking, everything that's on the new frontier of living a quality life day to day. But give us, the brief version of you used to work for the Brooklyn Nets and you decided to make a shift.
Yeah. So we'll start from where we are right now. Basically, I, along with a partner, Alex Cesarius, started a company really aimed at this idea of equipping the world with really simple, safe tools to get rid of distraction and fatigue. So 15 years I've been, or basically my entire life, basically obsessed with this idea of being a superhero. And for as long as I can remember, I have had this really clear vision that being ultra mentally with it, or like the ability to be super focused, super smart, super quick, and then physically like strong, fast, has always kind of been something that I've been obsessed with. And so it started out as me just playing sports when I was growing up and holding myself to insanely high standards. And as I've gotten older, it turned into experimentation with supplements and different eating protocols. But yeah, you're talking to a guy who's just like never happy. I mean, not never happy, sorry. Never satisfied and always tweaking and researching and curious. But with that being said, not someone who can really digest super dense science, right? I need like really surface level, applicable, usable, measurable things. And I found that after 15 years of hacking myself, I know that word and it kind of has a weird notation right now. And being part of this kind of biohacking underground, some of it was a little bit tough to understand. So we thought, hey, listen, let's start a company. Let's find ways for the world to get as close to 100% brain and body capacity as possible in a safe and easy to understand way. So that's what we're doing. In terms of my background, I started off working for the Nets. All of my 20s, I was your consummate sales guy. I sold most of the sponsorship and advertising for the Nets for 8 years. Had an amazing time. And the year I turned 30, kind of had this moment where I realized that a couple of things. One, that living kind of this archetype and this suit and tie lifestyle that I had, I really only explored a very small portion of who I was emotionally in myself.
And that's really conditioned for me coming from New York, like coming from Long Island, like you mentioned. Like there's a real pressure to wear the suit and tie and take the train to the city, and it's really hard to deprogram yourself, maybe even to begin to think like an entrepreneur, think about creating change. So yeah, was there anybody who helped influence that moment, mentors, something you read, or some experiences you were kind of having on the outside?
Absolutely. So in terms, so I was at the Nets for 8 years. I left. I then took 6 months and went to Asia. Backpack, walked around, had a really good time. So there was like this space that I gave myself. And when I came back, I didn't jump directly into running my own business. I worked for a startup, and I worked for a startup that was run by really startup-y guys, right? Like had started several companies, had run accelerators. These guys like lived and breathed startup culture. And it was really that. It was a company called Pivot Desk. It was really through that and seeing how the startup world attacked problems, how the startup world thought through issues, how the startup world was just ultra transparent, right? Like I can give you a gauge, like on day one working at the startup, I knew more about the financials, burn rate, where money was being spent on day one than I knew about the Nets in 8 years. And that was just the dichotomy between like a very corporate culture and this new kind of startup world, and the transparency, the methodical testing and problem solving, this whole like hacky culture, right? Find easy, simple ways to solve big problems. If you can automate stuff, automate it. Test, listen to your customers. I think the big businesses get very insulated in decision making, sometimes don't always listen to their customers. So it was kind of this gradual thing. You know, the year that I was at Pivot Desk, I really fell in love with entrepreneurship. I was surrounded by guys who had done it, who had a playbook. It didn't seem so scary after I got out of that.
So it got you after a year feeling like, hey, maybe I could do this, or what would my startup look like?
Totally. And I then jumped into a more senior role at another startup called Cabana, basically like a COO role, where I was charged with building something from the ground up, but we had secured a bunch of finance, and there was another CEO who had been through the startup thing. And we did that for a year, ended up not being very successful. And then Go Life was a side hustle for all of us. Like, if you go back to the beginnings, like this never really meant to be a business. This was always like something fun that we wanted to do in our extra time.
Were you like your ideal client? Like, hey, I'm doing this for myself to be more focused, to be more energized.
Yeah, and that's like a huge advantage that we have now is that, yes, I go out and talk to customers all the time. But most of the time, my gut feeling is in terms of like what customer behavior is going to be, what's going to look good, what's going to sound like when we're making marketing decisions. I am my ideal customer in every way, shape, and form. Outside of the fact that we're a very like gender neutral brand, so I don't think so much like our female customer, but in terms of our male customer, my activity level, where I live in a metropolitan area, my ultra high achieving mindset, um, the fact that I put a huge weight on my training life and a huge weight on my professional life. And yeah, it helps.
So yeah, and I was playing around with your site. I love it that like a chat box instantaneously comes up, after spending like
It's me most of the time.
yeah, really? I'll just test it and write in random nets facts and see if you engage.
See if I can keep up.
But no, really, I mean, a lot of customer products these days, you have to like hunt for the chat box, and it's feels really impersonal right off the bat, and you feel like the product or company doesn't care about the consumer. So that level of engagement, I think, is really, really important.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, it's the good thing about starting a consumer company right now is I'm not reinventing the wheel, right? There's a lot for anyone who's trying to start like a consumer facing good, a direct consumer good, a la Casper or Warby Parker or Glossier or Allbirds. Like these guys created a really solid playbook. Um, like the archetype is out there and it's pretty simple. Customer centric, build a community, create 1,000 customers who absolutely love your product and it'll grow virally. Like right now, all I think about is how do I find those first 1,000 people who kind of fit our archetype, right? Who are super interested in being high achievers, whose lives are impacted by the idea that brain fog and sluggishness are constantly around. Talk to them as much as I possibly can. Listen to everything that they say and build products that they love. It's pretty simple.
I might be your ideal client. I think without brain fog, I might actually achieve something.
You know what? Here's kind of like the thing that I get excited about, right? Is we find there's these problems that we all share, and there's like really simple ways to solve them. I know that you guys talk a lot about diet, and I am by no means a nutritionist, but there has been some small tweaks that I've made around my diet, some like things I've done around my sleep that have vastly, vastly, vastly increased my quality of life in the past year. And the fact that there's these super simple tools that, listen, going keto is not easy, but once it happens, oh my God, the clarity that I felt, how my gut health was better, my everything just happened so quickly, instantaneously. And there's like a million of these little hacks that you can do that are pretty inexpensive and cheap, that can really cure some like huge problems that affect all of us.
So what are, maybe two or three you're willing to share with our listeners today that diet or sleep wise that could help people start to turn around?
So the things that I think about a lot are, well, the things that I've not think about, that I've done and have made the biggest impact is one, proper hydration, specifically like when we first wake up. So we sleep for 6, 7, 8 hours. We wake up, we have a cup of coffee. In those 6, 7, 8 hours, we get insanely dehydrated. So the day that I started waking up and drinking a huge glass of water, with literally salt and lemon, and before I had my coffee, I totally rehydrated, vastly increased the amount of energy that I would have all day. I also train super early in the morning. I was able to warm up faster on those like 6:15 workouts as well. So I think about hydration a lot. It doesn't have to be like I don't carry around a jug of water. Literally, like just that first 5 minutes when I wake up, going into the kitchen, pouring a fresh glass of room temperature water, squeezing Himalayan rock salt in it, and a quarter of a lemon, drinking that before I touch any coffee has changed the game. Second, from like a nutrition standpoint, pivoting to a really high-fat diet. And I know, like, listen, if you're watching this, you've probably heard of the ketogenic diet. I know a lot of really smart brain doctors who are huge proponents of the ketogenic diet. It doesn't work for everyone. It doesn't. It is worth trying. And it is worth trying in a very user-friendly capacity. So I'll give you a gauge on why I tried it. I tried it simply because I was addicted to sugar. Not that I was eating like full sleeves of Oreos, but I'd be out to a dinner in New York and you put a dessert in front of me and I couldn't say no to it. And that's a very debilitating feeling for someone who loves to be in control all the time. And so I was sitting at dinner with another, like a neuroscientist friend. I try to surround myself with as many smart brain people as I can. And I'm telling him about this. And he's like, do you know why you want the sugar? And he said, basically, it's not your body that wants the sugar. It's your brain that wants the sugar. Your brain sees sugar and carbohydrates as quick fixes of energy. So when the energy dips, it knows that sugar is going to be its quickest way to replenish its energy stores. So it's going to trigger your taste buds to crave sugar. Now, how do you solve this? Basically, what you do is you preeminently, I don't even know if I'm saying that word right.
Preemptively, yeah.
Preemptively feed your body with fat so that you never have to trigger that energy dip that comes from the constant sugar. So what do I do? So what did I start doing? I said, I carried around this like fat survival kit. It was avocado, olive oil, nuts, and coconut milk. And I would say from beginning of the day till 12, I am going to go try to eat as much of this as I can with my normal meals, right? So, cooking my eggs in olive oil, handfuls of nuts in the morning, avocado in with my breakfast, coconut milk with my coffee, or adding some type of fat to the coffee. Some people like butter. I love to put butter in my coffee too. And I was like, just as an experiment, let's see if I can front load my day with fats, if that's going to curb my sugar cravings at night over dinner. And for me, it worked, and it worked so well. So then I just kind of continued to roll and added more sugar and was able to or added more fat and was able to pull out more sugar. And probably over like a 90-day period, I just basically was able to pull out all the sugars from my diet. And I just kind of like backed into a ketogenic protocol. And then one day I was like, all right, let's start measuring and see if we can do it. And then it becomes gamified.
So do you have to go with intermittent fasting if you're going ketogenic?
No.
No, it's two separate things.
No. Intermittent fasting helps you, and now I do, but like you're talking to a guy who loves breakfast. It took me like 8 months of eating a high-fat diet and being in keto to get to the point where I was like, I don't need breakfast. And now I just eat breakfast for dinner.
I love breakfast for dinner. So, Adam, just because they're giving us like the 3-minute warning here, tell us a little bit about your trip abroad during those 6 months. What did you see, and what was the main message that you took away for all those people looking for changes of direction in their life?
Yeah. Listen, this trip was something that I needed to do. I had the travel bug for many, many years, and I shoved it deep in my stomach because I thought that if I miss a day in New York, that I would fall decades behind. And it turned out that if I hadn't I was going to take that trip, whether it was at the age of 30 or at the age of 45, when I already had a family and kids, and I would leave them and go. But that trip was in me, and I needed to get it out of my system. Now, what allowed me to have such a transformational time in that trip? Everywhere I went, I volunteered. So I had no plan. The only plan I had is I knew the place I was landing and the orphanage I was going to volunteer at. And then I allowed the universe to kind of take me. But I knew if anywhere I land, no matter how remote, if I can find a way to share and give back to the community and the land that's enriching me, I will never be alone. And that's exactly how it played out. It's also incredible. I'm guessing a lot of your people that are watching are probably American. It is incredible how influential the Americans are in the East. Like, I would show up and I would say, what do we have to do? We have to build this structure and we have 2 weeks to build it. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Like, I have no construction background, but these people were so curious on how things were done in the West. And that at that moment too, I realized, like, as an American, like, I have the power to make a huge global change. And then coming back and getting into the startup world and then evolving into this, like, I can see, I can feel, I know how big an impact Americans can have globally.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I just came back from Canada, and it's not quite Eastern, but just the impact of appreciating other cultures in the world and seeing the gifts we already have within us, and being able to appreciate other people and how much our interaction can shift and change everything. So they're giving me the 1 minute countdown. I want to give you a chance to give a shout out about the Go Life. We'll have you back on, I hope, so we can get pictures of you carrying boulders and trees and all the things that Go Life has inspired you to do. But go ahead and give us a plug for how people can reach you and get a taste of your products.
Yeah, so you'll know that the Go Life is for you if you're looking for a jitter-free, crash-free pre-workout that also helps you write emails. If you want more information, you can find us on Instagram at thegolife.com or thegolife.com on the internet. You can email me directly at adam@thegolife.com. I like meeting new people and chatting about brain optimization. So yeah.
And I'll be your guinea pig. I'm looking for a shift. I need more energy, Adam. So we're going to get some tips and try it out, and I'll be happy to share.
Please send your address. We'll send a bunch over.
Thank you so much. Yeah, but that's a great tip, because I realized drinking that coffee first thing, I'm probably dehydrating myself and then showing up to my workout a little bit flat. So it's probably simple changes that we can all make, even us with PhDs who claim to know. We all need help, and we all need to get optimized and biohacked, whatever it takes. Thank you so much. Our guest again, we want to thank you, Mr. Adam Greenfield, and we look forward to having you out here in LA, having you back on, sharing your journey, and we thank you for your time, everybody. Thank you again for tuning in at Richard Listens Show. Stay tuned. Look on Instagram at Richard Listens for next week's guest, and we look forward to hearing from you, feedback, and ideas for future shows. Take care, everyone.